Furries are an odd bunch, the sheer creativity they can create, and then add the words, but then they are anthro to, is a fascinating case study in human ingenuity and depravity. Vanguard Varmisk Fallen is a creative game, creative in a bad way. At its core, Vanguard is a confused game, not quite knowing what it wants to be, simply that it wants to be existing. In brief, the issue is pretty simple, but it has to be addressed for the rest of this to make sense. Vanguard is a game made for kids, young kids. It even has a small section at the start about running games for preteens as young as 7. Now this may make you think that the game is fairly child-friendly, and that's where you'd be wrong, son. Vanguard's setting is effectively science fiction, as you play the Confederation of Friendly Animals after the race war, after exiling the not-friendly animals off-planet. The Confederation is hyper post-scarcity and also a nightmarish reality where everyone is labeled with a citizen identification number and an optical data interface node, which is literally inbuilt nanites to work on and is literally building inside of you, because we're also cyberpunk furries. But what about the game? Well, first you have to make a character, rolling 1d6 for each attribute, choose a friendly species, choose your vocation, which grants your starting equipment and resources, their talents, which grant other abilities, and their assets. Oh, did I forget about the Esper abilities and sci-tech enhancements? Don't forget about those, and you might need to also develop your vehicle or your robotic companion. Also, don't forget to mention there are psionics, which totally isn't magic, because there is. This may seem a little bit overwhelming for a kid, right? So the game tries to mitigate the issue with cards. Yeah, the entire game is meant to be played with these cards, which are given to you in the details of your equipment, spells, and tools, every single one of them. Even the species are actually just a card for you to put next to your character sheet. Vocations, cards. Talents, cards. But some of the talents can be taken multiple times, so you're going to have to be filling out that little tiny circle as well. I'm not even factoring in the gear, or the nano breeder, or Odin modifications, or any of the other small bonuses and changes, some of which have cards, and some of which don't. And everything is written on these cards, some of which feel a little bit strange to even include, especially if you just pick something up, as it becomes a game of trying to figure out where it is on the card. And sometimes a card may have multiple different things which are all slightly different but are labeled as the same thing. But what about the game? The game! Notepad, what do you roll to enjoy things? Well, it is a dice pool, which is a difficulty number is determined by the number of successes and the minimum number of successes needed. So a target number of 3 would need 3 dice reading 3 or more, making certain checks at a certain point impossible. This also has modifiers which increase the value of the dice rolled, buff which increases the number of dice, sap which reduces the number of dice, and trust me, everything has these goddamn little buffs and increases and modifiers which change things. The issue is that everything is both this hand-holding terminology and approach and symbols trying to explain the game, which is by itself about as handled as well as a brick in a tumble dryer. Combine that with the sprinkling of advanced rules through the entire book, it becomes a mess to even read. Even combat suffers from this. It's overly complex, explained in a childish manner. This doesn't need to be complicated, but they did everything as complicated as possible for no benefits. It is holding your hands while trying to explain to a child nuclear physics. Now, I could go into the entire hacking minigame, or the fact that Esper abilities have their own separate thing, or the more detailed sections of combat, but no, I don't want to, because it's the same shit over and over and over again. As I said, it's a confused game. It's a game for kids, but it's overly dense and complex. It wants to be simple, but it masquerades its information behind cards and helpful hints. It wants to be a science fiction game, but then it mostly takes place on a single planet with limited understanding of the rest of the galaxy. It's a messy, confused game. Unfortunately as well, most of the information I could find that may have been helpful for this game has been actually old yeller due to Google Plus being shut down. Maybe there was a golden fix for everything. Or perhaps this game is better left off dead. My name is Notepad, and this was Vanguard Varmisk Fallen. If you like what I do here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And many thanks to the plutocrats who continue to fund my despair. Free me.